Okay, this is a video response to a letter sent to me by Junior Bechan Chi about using economy to create an anarchical society. His channel will be linked in the sidebar. And since this is a strictly philosophical video, you're welcome to comment on the subject. However, any comments not connected to this subject will be deleted. So I know you want to share with me your verbal world which you have learned in South Park. However, this will not be tolerated here. Okay, the free market theory simplified. If there is no forced barriers to enter any markets, then there is free competition. If there is free competition for voluntary consumers, then there is social order or law without government, because investors balance each other out. If no man is in charge of law through direct force, like in government, then there is anarchical society. Each one is in charge of his or own destiny. Now, I've taken some notes from Wikipedia. Most of my notes are from Wikipedia, and some are made up in my head. A free market is a theoretical term that is used to describe a market which is free from government intervention, i.e. no regulation, no subsidiation, no single monetary system, and no government monopolies. Property rights are voluntarily exchanged. The price is arranged solely by mutual consent of seller and buyer. Buyers and sellers do not coerce each other, meaning there is no use of physical force, threat of physical force, or fraud, nor is it coerced by a third party such as by government via transfer payments. The outcome of this theory is that seller and buyer engage in trade because they both consent and believe that it is a good enough choice. The questions are, is this what we are experiencing right now? Not openly, no. If not, why? And so, will this ever work in the future? And finally, what can be done to achieve this? The two fundamental rules in the free market are: there is no use of force to prevent competition among buyers and sellers, and the law of supply and demand influences prices towards an equilibrium that balances the demands of the product against the supplies. Let me read that again. In a free market, force is not used to prevent competition among buyers and sellers. However, the law of supply and demand influences prices towards an equilibrium that balances the demands for the products against the supplies. There is a paradox. There is a weak chain. There is a minor force used to regulate. There is a minor force to regulate this system to keep it in balance. But what happens if it goes wrong? Let's say there is no force to regulate the system, but it can still go wrong. What happens when you have no control? Like in a natural, non-theoretical situation, but you can't be everywhere and know everything all the time. Before we continue, here's a small factor about freedom, about why freedom is natural. The black market is generally smallest in countries where economic freedom is greatest and becomes progressively larger in those areas where corruption, regulation, or legal monopolies restrict legitimate economic activity. Now, the black market example Black market is ideologically the closest thing we have to the free market theory used right now in the natural world, in a non-theoretical world. However, in many ways it can also be considered its complete opposite, because the black market, by definition, is a market where all commerce is conducted without regard to taxation, law, or regulations of trade. Currently, a non-convenient market due to regulations of government. However, the supplier is not held accountable for faults. There's trade in stolen goods. There's the use of coercion, force, and one minor point, the black market flourishes in most countries during wartime. So, coming back to the free market, can the free market idea work, or will it collapse under the influence of humanity's greed? Are people capable to follow the rules which they have created, or will they continuously try to bypass them? And if they use them, will they use these rules for the greater good, or will they abuse them? Most importantly, can one ideal market work for all the different cultures? We honestly don't know, because we haven't tried this out openly yet. Finally, Lao Tzu, a Chinese philosopher considered by some as the first anarchist, 2300 to 2500 BC, once said that laws cannot regulate a reasonable society as long as there is fear of punishment. The more laws you make, the more people will have to lock up in jails. What if everyone understood the laws and why they are there, and how to use them properly? How do we achieve this? Here you have an example. What if, instead of teaching our children that killing and stealing is wrong, we would teach them why they are wrong? Do you know why they're wrong? See ya.